Hey there. Tonight we are going live with Justin, who is a person who developed functional seizures after a concussion, has had symptoms for over 20 years before we met. And he got to work with our family. And I'm so excited to share this interview with him. Justin, I'm going to invite you here. I see you coming in live. So I'm going to add you. Hirschberg. I am the owner and founder of Reactive, where our team got to work with Justin. I actually haven't met Justin, so this is the first. Hi, Justin.
Hello.
Oh, great to meet you. I have heard so much about you from your team.
I'm sure you have.
Lots of great stuff. They so enjoyed working with you. And I heard about your family and camping and just all the great things. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to share some of your story with others.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm excited to.
yeah. And so I wonder if you can share a little bit of your story before you found Reactive, before we saw
Yeah.
you. What was life like? What were your symptoms like?
Well, it my symptoms. The thing is that I didn't even know. I was completely unaware of what FND even was. And it goes back to I was 20. I'm 47 now, and I was 20 after my third bad concussion.
Mm,
And after that, I started having seizures. And then,
okay.
yeah, I'm just going to go back to the very beginning because that'll
Yeah.
just sort of bring it all together. But yeah, so I started having seizures, having multiple seizures a day, went about a year going from doctor to doctor to doctor, telling me, like, I don't know what to do. Finally, I found a neurologist who told me to get a 24-hour video monitored EEG,
Hmm.
and I got that done. And then it came back with I'm not epileptic, so that was good. I was glad about that.
Yeah.
Um, but it came back there was nothing happening in my brain. So the neurologist at the time was like, "You have what are called pseudo seizures, and it's a psychological based problem." Um, and you're going to have to work through it with a psychologist. And my 20-year-old brain interpreted that as that somehow I had control over this, that these were
Mm,
in my head,
hmm.
and that somehow, and I had a fireman, I had 911 called on me, and one of the firemen was accusing me of faking
Oh.
while I was having seizures. And that was just like, and I'm dealing with doctors who are telling me nothing's wrong with me, but I'm having all these seizures. And but yeah, so I finally got that diagnosis of pseudo seizures, and I didn't take it very well.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
because he told me that the head injuries were a fluke, that the head injuries weren't related to these pseudo seizures, that it was a psychological based problem. Um, that I was going to have to work it out with a psychologist, and I didn't want to do that.
No.
I wasn't excited about going to a psychologist because I thought what, and then the reason why I wasn't excited is because I thought, well, I'm gonna get there and they're gonna be like, well, you have seizures, so you need to go see a neurologist, and that's exactly what happened. Was
Oh.
I bounced around a bunch of different psychologists, and all of them were like, no, you need to go see a neurologist, and the neurologist was like, nope, you need to see a psychologist. This is in your head. And
Oh my gosh.
so I basically gave up. By the time I was 21, 22, I was like, I just naturally started having less seizures by the second and third year. So I was able to start doing more things, and I just thought, I guess I'm just doing this on my own, and really not ever really accepting the pseudo seizure psychological based diagnosis. And but what happened is I ended up getting on Paxil because along with the seizures, I had really extreme anxiety and extreme depression. Like, and I didn't know the seizures and those were under an umbrella of FND. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was just, my whole adult life, I've been just struggling just to do anything, just to get by. I mean, I do have a family. I have 3 kids, so it's not like I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I did a lot, and but it was always very hard. Luckily, my wife is a nurse, and she makes really good money, so I didn't have to work. I was able to stay home with the kids, but it was also I had to quit my jobs because I kept having seizures at work, and I was under the impression. Oh, and that was the other thing that this doctor told me is that these seizures were caused by stress, and I was yeah, I was just like, well, if they're caused by stress, how? But so that whole stress thing really came into focus about 10 years ago because I was under an extreme amount of stress. I had 2 babies, or a 3-year-old and a baby, and both of my parents were ill.
Oh.
Dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's,
Oh.
and my mom had congestive heart failure, and they were living together. And
Mm.
I was in the Southern California, but I was a little ways away, so I just wasn't around them as much, and I realized how bad things were, so we ended up moving back out this way to help out. And it was the most stressful time of my life. Like, dealing with a loved one who has Alzheimer's is terrible. And
It's
if
terrible.
anybody who's going, I feel for you. It's a terrible disease. And but that was the most stressful 10 or like about decade of my life. But I stopped having seizures during that whole time. And so I thought, like, I had started meditating like shortly before the seizure stopped. So I was like,
Okay.
dude, meditation cured me. And I was just like, oh, I guess the seizures just went away. I got on it, but I was still dealing with major anxiety and
Mm.
depression. Just, and still just constantly felt overwhelmed by life.
Mm. Mm.
Just even after my parents passed and things calmed down, I still just felt completely overwhelmed by life.
Mm.
That was my experience, like before I realized or what FND was. And yeah, but a year ago I started having seizures again,
Mm.
and they just did not stop. I had probably over 200 seizures, maybe more, like in the past 6 7 months. Like, it just went haywire, like just
Mm.
completely off the rails. um there's some family stress. I have a teenager, so having a
Same.
teenager can
Same.
be stressful at
Say no
times.
more.
Like, yeah, you understand if you have a teenager how that could be. So I was yeah, there was definitely stress, but the seizures just snowballed, and I was
Mm.
having like sometimes 20 a day, like, and it just
Wow.
and so I started after I realized, like, okay, this isn't stopping, and I need to
Mhm.
like get some help, which I was not excited about. I was like, I wrote the medical community off like
Yeah.
decades, more than 20 years ago. Like, I don't want to go back there, and I
Mm.
just always had bad experiences. Every time I went to a neurologist, it usually ended with me leaving very
Mm.
upset, and the neurologist uh, just saying, oh yeah, it's in your head, or so I did not want to look into this
Of
anymore.
course not.
But so my wife started looking into it on my behalf and was like, yeah, I think there's some new research out there. And so I started
Mm.
doing the research, and I found the term functional seizure. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, that's interesting. And I started looking into that, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. And then I found the term FND, and the functional neurological disorder, and that like the seizures were just one part of the broader umbrella of FND. And so I thought, man, well, maybe there's something to this, like
Mhm.
this is new and totally new information. And this, it's a lot better than a neurologist being like, well, I don't know what's in your head,
Yeah.
So reading all this new information about FND, I was like, I'm going to look into this tonight. So I started looking into. I originally found a place in Colorado, and they were like, oh, there's this place called Reactive in Los Angeles by where you are. You should call them. So I called you guys, and I think it took like a good, like I had to wait for a little bit for a spot to open up, and it was like maybe like a month and a half of waiting,
Mhm.
knowing I was going to partake in this program. And that month and a half, I became acutely aware of the how mistrustful I was of the medical community,
Uh,
and I just was like, I don't know, my seizures were getting worse because I think I was worried about reopening old wounds that I just didn't
yeah.
want to, and I thought, well, that's going to make the seizures worse too. But I got to my first appointment, and shout out Lincoln. I
Lincoln.
he One of the first things he says is like, have you tried using a weighted vest? And I was like, I almost wanted to punch him. I was like, a weighted vest? I was like, dude, no, I haven't tried a weighted vest. And I was like, I was really annoyed by that. I was just in a bad place. And God bless Lincoln. He just, without skipping it, he was like, oh, well, let's try it, and put it on. And I was like, I do feel a little different. And then, but as time went on, that became one of my main go-to things was weighted, like putting weights on, like a bag of weights, like
Ah.
on my thighs. It just
Mm.
grounds me and brings me this soothing feeling. It was like,
Mm.
it's like one of the most powerful tools I have in my bag of tricks now. And when I first heard it, I was like, this guy, man, weighted vest, like this is. But man, it turned out to be a real. I'd heard about weighted blankets and how they could help you, but man, just the simple, like the weights on my thighs, I can't explain how much
Wow.
that grounds my nervous system. And
Hmm.
if I'm starting to disassociate, just will kind of bring me back, and just uh, I like to think of it in terms of like falling into a trance, like the seizure
Hmm.
state. And I yeah. So when I start falling into that trance, I just get that bag of weights. Like I got it right here. It's just a little
Awesome.
bag, and it's just filled with sands, like little bags of sand.
That's
I don't know,
great.
maybe it's like 10 pounds or something. And every time I put it on my lap, it's just like a wave of relief comes over me, because I think my nervous system is like, oh, there we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it brings you to your body. And I mean, this is after, I mean, no wonder you were hesitant about the weighted vest. It had been many, many years that you had symptoms. And I love that you kind of made a shift. Now, you also said like you've had so much mistrust of medical providers. What do you think was part of the shift? Not just the weighted vest, I think, but
Yeah.
like what were some of those
Yeah.
things that helped you um build trust again?
Um, Now I can shout out Niolia.
Okay.
Thank you very much. He spent like he really educated me on what FND
Ah.
was, and in ways I could easily understand, just told me what FND was and
Mm.
explained the seizures. And it was the first time where I was like, I put two and two together with like how much I struggled with just basic everyday things,
Mm.
um, and basically understanding FND and the relationship between like my body and my nervous system and just being all out of whack. And usually I'm like deep in my head or dealing with some
Mm.
super painful emotion or just like things are just
Mm.
super overwhelming. And um he like explained why all that was happening basically. And
Yeah.
like for the first time it made sense. I was like, oh yeah, like this is what's going on, And and just I think knowing the learning a little bit before I came to reactive, just learning about the term functional seizure and
Mm.
researching that, it made me be like, okay, this is new.
Yeah.
This is something I've never heard before, and this makes sense to me. Because it just didn't make sense to me that stress was causing my seizures because it's just, and I guess I thought like, well, I'm just never going to get away from this then because if stress is causing these, well, then I'm doomed. Like, there's no like getting away from stress.
No.
I have teenagers.
We're human. We're
Yeah,
human, Justin.
like man, I mean, yeah. But understanding it in the terms of stress, yeah, plays a
Yeah.
part, but
Yeah.
it's much more nuanced than that. It's not. Naoya taught me the nuance of
Mm.
FND and how it there's a lot of yes and no's. It's not just this black and white, like, okay, this is what you have. This is
Mhm.
exactly the steps you need to take to, so I think Naoya really just kept opening my heart up, even but I would say I was in such a, a place I was like in such a place of despair.
Mm.
Like I ended up getting hospitalized for a little bit, and it was just like the seizures were like, man, they were some days they were nonstop, like just
Mm.
nonstop, And my kids are, I, I'm trying to protect my kids and not like
Right.
have seizures right in front of them, but
Yeah.
I couldn't always do that, And
Yeah.
I have an 8-year-old too, and he was just like, "What's wrong, Dad? Are you okay?"
Oh,
And
yeah.
I could tell his little heart was so just like, oh, what's wrong, and trying like
Yeah.
wanted to help me and like just give me a hug and be like, I love you, Dad, and so because of my family, like I was like, I need help, like I need to
Yeah.
see what's out there and see if I could get like some sort of relief from this because I don't want my kids to have to go through this. I don't want my wife to have to. My wife, God bless her, she was just dealing with it, and
Yeah.
she's got a full-time she's a neuro ICU nurse, and
Oh,
she's a very stressful job to begin with,
yeah.
and then coming home and then dealing with a husband who's like, I couldn't drive for, sorry if it sounds like the ceilings, this is my kids, sorry.
It's
um
your house.
um
No problem.
um yeah, I I yeah, I was really in a good headspace. I was really
Mm.
open to the help,
Yeah.
and I think that played a huge part in my getting better so quickly.
Yeah.
I think it for in like 3 months. I think I just finished about 2 or 3 weeks ago the program,
Yeah.
and it was about 3 months I was doing it, and I have probably 90% less seizures, 95 maybe.
Wow.
I'm still having them,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, my life is, I'm back to driving, I'm back to picking up my kids from school and just being more involved, being able to go places with my family and stuff. For a while, I was like stuck at home because I was having seizures all day, and
Yeah.
I just didn't
That's
want to do that. So
That's huge. That's huge, Justin.
yeah,
That's so incredible. And you mentioned about stress, and this is something I talk with Lauren a lot about. And I'm curious, like you, I wonder how your like thought process or how your thoughts about stress are now compared to before,
yeah,
um and maybe some of the tools that you use to kind of manage in the moment rather than like trying to avoid it because life,
yes,
right? Like tell me a little
man,
bit about that.
that you hit on something that was like uh the avoidance pattern that
Mm.
I created an extreme avoidance pattern. Sorry, as the sun sets, it's gonna keep getting
Oh, I thought the
redder and redder
coloring
in
was
here.
like so nice. I could see the sun setting, Justin.
Yeah, I have a
It's
red
so
light. It's like a
beautiful.
heat lamp because
Oh,
this
okay.
is my little studio, my music studio, and I was like,
Oh,
oh man, it's just gonna get redder and redder if I don't turn on a light.
it
So
was a
sorry.
vibe, Justin. It was a vibe. I like it.
Yeah. I was like, they're gonna think what's going on with this. But all right, so um, oh man, I totally lost my what was I?
So we are talking, Lauren and I have been talking about stress and how
Oh
you
yeah,
view
stress.
stress, the avoidance versus
Yes,
actually like managing and being with it.
yes. I was just always avoiding anything that would bring me stress over this
Mm,
27 years of dealing with this. I learned to avoid stress at all cost.
mm,
And I it led me to stop traveling
mm,
out of the country. It led me to really have to suffer through things I enjoyed doing.
mm.
Like I really enjoy camping. And being in nature is like one of my favorite things. And but going on camping trips with little kids and with FND can be overwhelming, and it can
Yeah.
just and the anxiety levels would go through the roof. I would have
Mm.
like I remember like laying in my little pop-up tent trailer with my whole family and just full-blown panic attacks. They're all
Ah.
asleep and I'm just laying there wide awake, just freaking out, having
Mhm.
panic attacks. And yeah, so I just started avoiding doing most everything.
Mm,
I and I viewed stress as like the enemy.
mm.
And I learned to be mindful. I know that's like a hot term or whatever, but I was mindful in the I had fear-based mindfulness. So I
Mm.
was like threat scanning, for every little stress, every little feeling in my body. I was like, what is
Yeah.
that? You know, and I, I was like mindful without the awareness part of my body. I was just
Mm.
really in my head about every little thing, and so I avoided stress. Um, but what I learned, part of what I learned, what Lauren taught me. Shout out Lauren. She's my hero, psychologist, therapist. I've never met anybody like her. She's great.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I learned through her that stress isn't necessarily a bad thing, and that if I can find the balance between the right amount of stress, not too much to where I'm going to be triggered back into having seizures, because that does happen if I uh, just put too much on my plate. It will kind of set me back a little bit, I've noticed.
Mhm.
But I've also learned that my confidence is growing. Like I had zero
Mm.
confidence. I'm 47 and I had like zero confidence in my
Mm.
ability to like do much of anything, because I was just like everything was super overwhelming. And then I would have seizures, and so I was just uh so yeah, the avoidance, the the um the outcome of that, I guess, was like, or the consequence, I guess, was having destroyed my self-confidence,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
just had no, so it led me to just isolate more, socially a
Mhm.
lot, like uh I wouldn't want to go out even with friends.
Mhm.
I had a drinking problem for a long time. I've always smoked pot, and I still smoke a lot of pot, and but the drinking got out of hand.
Mhm.
I had to drink to be in public,
Ah.
if I was in a social situation, I had to have a few beers in me, just to
Mm.
manage it,
Mhm.
and I got older and decided that was not a healthy approach to life. I stopped drinking like that, and I had to like face the demons, that I had been avoiding by,
Mm.
and now that was really hard. But I'm learning now that by putting myself in those sorts of situations, that I'm gaining confidence back,
Mm.
and I'm much less isolated. You know, I'm going on a trip with a couple friends from high school, which I never would have done before, just because
Yeah.
I just couldn't have brought myself to deal with the social situations of not having, seen people in a
Yeah.
long time, and just being out in the wilderness, and being on my own. As much as I love it, sometimes it like stresses me out just to be in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm taking them to Death Valley. None of them have been to Death Valley before. I
Okay.
love Death Valley. I love the desert.
Cool.
I go.
I
I've
love
been,
the desert. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, Justin, me too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
It's a
so
magical.
it is magical. I'm just thinking that you're doing these things that you haven't done for a while. And what are some of the tools that you're using now that like really help you manage in the moment rather than avoid? Because I hear you're doing things even though you know they can be stressful or they could be overwhelming.
Yeah, I I think that it's just the major thing that I do when I'm like I had to go to some holiday parties,
Mhm.
and just social settings where I had to go to my wife's holiday party. She's a nurse,
Mhm.
and so it's all the nurses and doctors there. But I realized when I had got there that that was the hospital. I was on her unit, so there was like everybody knew me there. It's like,
Oh,
oh, that's Amanda's husband who has seizures, and he was in the hospital a
mm,
couple weeks ago, and that like just spiraled me in my head. But I went and I was at the place and I handled it. I didn't freak out. I
yeah.
didn't get like hammered drunk. I was like able to like be there and be present.
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But this is in December, so I was still in the program. I was still,
Yeah.
but like during that time, or when I'm in uncomfortable situations, I just use the grounding techniques, and
Oh.
like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that Lauren always walks me through if I'm starting to disassociate during our
Hmm.
our meetings. She'd be like, "Okay, let's stop and do and like bring ourselves back, and just 5 things I could see, 4 things I could smell, or just out getting really back into my body,
Yeah.
and that helps me stop disassociating. It brings me
Mm.
back. It grounds me again. I know it's a cliche term, but it's like the most
It's
important
very
thing I have
real.
in the
Yeah.
toolbox right now is to ground myself, you know, to like just put myself back in my body, and
Hmm.
because most of my adult life I've spent out of my body trying to avoid the weird feelings I was constantly having. And and worried about having those weird feelings and being scared of those weird feelings,
Mm-hmm.
but just having them on the daily, and not knowing how to get away from those weird. I thought I was broken. I thought
Ah.
somehow I was like my brain was broke or something. I thought like something's seriously wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out, oh, there is something wrong with you. You have FND. And like, so I feel like that, just knowing like what I have now and
Yeah.
having it explained in a logical, compassionate way, I like that's part of my toolbox that I take that opens my
Ah.
heart to allow myself to ground, because my
Mm-hmm.
heart is a huge part of this because my emotions are wrapped up in my inner life, and
Yeah.
I don't have to run from my inner life anymore. I don't have to.
Mm.
I can feel. That's like what I do. If I'm going somewhere, I'm doing something. I know it's gonna be scary. It's gonna bring up. It's gonna be unpleasant, But I go and
Yeah.
I sit there with it, and I invited in for a cup of tea, and like be like, "Hey man, how you doing? I know you're here." Like with one of the things I did with Lauren was like make like these characters in my head to talk to.
Oh, I love that. I love
And
that. Who's your character? I gotta know, Justin.
well, one of them, Donnie, Donnie's a good one. He rides a Segway. Lauren came up with that. That was a good one. That was a good job, Lauren. Um, but and he's just constantly like threat scanning, just
Hmm.
constantly like it's his job to make sure that I don't have to deal with too much stress. That's Donnie's job.
Yeah.
So when those feelings come to me, I recognize them as Donnie. I'm like, hey Donnie, what's up? Let's hang out, And so I instead of trying to run, hide from Donnie, or just be like, I'm scared of having to deal with these overwhelming feelings that, um, yeah, I feel like that tool of just facing my fear and sitting with it and just being accepting it,
Mm.
100%, like radical acceptance. I feel like
Yeah.
it's a huge part of getting better from this. It's just accepting where you're at and just being like, okay, this is where I'm at, because that helps ground me too. The
Yeah.
acceptance helps ground me because grounding is key. Like that's the if I
Yeah.
could if I only had one word to like talk about with what I took away, it'd be grounding.
Yeah.
I feel like for the first time I'm grounded, and sometimes that feels like I'm falling.
Mm.
I still
Hmm.
feel like midair just dropping without a parachute. But that's just Donnie being freaking the freaking out and trying to be like, oh, danger, 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 and
On this segue.
yeah, on his Segway, like, I don't know what's going on. He zips in and out everywhere, he's all
Yeah.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Donnie and I had a couple other characters, but Donnie was the. But yeah, just talking to, being aware of like,
Yeah.
oh, these narratives in my head are just narratives,
Mm.
and I don't have to
Hmm.
believe them. They're just stories, They're just, um, and so yeah, from I think that's it, just grounding and and uh and having a open perspective, understanding what's going on with me and
Yeah.
accepting it and being like,
Accept.
okay, this is where I'm at, and also facing it and not avoiding it, you
It's
know?
beautiful. Yeah, I hear so much acceptance there of yourself, of what's happening, and then that's opening up. I mean, I heard from you, you're driving, you're going to go on a trip. What other goals like feel possible now compared to before?
Yeah, I feel like did, I feel like I could be the dad that I wanted to be. You know, that's the biggest thing
Huge.
is
Yeah.
being able to be present with my kids. Um, that didn't always seem possible before, you know,
Mm,
and that wasn't always possible. I had to avoid a lot and miss a lot, you know, and avoid a lot. Um, so that right there is definitely I mean, if
yeah.
you have kids,
You know.
you know they grow up quick and they're gonna be, you know, and so I want to be present, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I
You can't
feel,
put a price tag on that one,
yeah,
Justin. No, that is priceless. That's and I'm guessing, for somebody who's had these symptoms for so long, you've shared a lot of your discouragement or feeling stuck. What might you tell to somebody else who's been in that place and that you've been?
yeah, I would tell them to keep looking into FND, but I would also just offer a heart of compassion and
Hmm.
just compassionate, like Dalai Lama style, giving you a
Yeah.
hug, you know, and just being
Yeah.
like, it is okay to feel like you can't handle life. And because a lot of my life felt like it was out of control and I couldn't do it. I couldn't be the person I wanted to be. I couldn't, you know, it's just, I was very hopeless and just destitute of all confidence that my life would, you know, that I could be the person I wanted to be the dad
Hmm.
I wanted to be, you know. And
Hmm.
but that is has changed. I have that confidence and that hope again.
Yeah.
And but I think the main thing I wanted to I thought about this question. You sent it to me earlier, and I was thinking about it. I was like, what would I say to somebody, you know? And I just the compassion part, I really felt like I wanted to express that to anybody who is
Hmm.
hurting, you know, and going through this, because I know it's a lot of suffering, and I would encourage them to use that pain and suffering and to let it stir a sense of compassion for themselves, you know,
Hmm.
be easy on themselves. And I was so hard on myself for so many years. I hated myself for a good long part of my adult life. And a lot of it was because I struggled so much with just like the simplest tasks in
Yeah.
life. I was just like, what is wrong with you? You can't
Yeah.
like my wife has this crazy job where she's dealing with like life and death and and I'm like just trying to get out of bed in the morning. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like I'm like, man, like
Yeah.
just to get out of bed and become present for my family was like I was just like, man, I can't. What's going on, you know? But and I wasn't kind to myself
Hmm.
when I felt that way. I would often be like disappointed in myself and feel like a failure, you know? And that's what I wanted to tell them is to
Hmm.
like you're not a failure, not like
Hmm.
you got a neurological functional neurological disorder and that is makes life very, very difficult. You know, so just to go easy on themselves and to
Yeah.
be kind to themselves and to
Yeah.
love themselves. I mean, I took way too long to learn that,
Hmm.
and so that's my 2 cents on anybody who's
Yeah.
struggling
You
with something
have
hard.
so much hope and compassion for others. The whole time we're talking, Justin, I'm like, are you sure you don't want to go into healthcare, Justin? Like, I feel like you're giving a gift to many people that are listening to this. And I think you have a lot to share. I'm going to ask you that same question though, but for other healthcare providers. We have a lot of clinicians that watch these videos, and you've been through the ringer with healthcare providers for sure for a very long time. What do you wish they better understood about FND?
And I was better understood about I don't know, because to be honest, this is still so new to me. I'm trying to
Mm,
wrap my head around it still. Like I'm still
yeah.
processing. Like I'm still so blown away at how much I've improved in such a short a time. And like I have a therapist that I've been seeing for a year. Shout out Randall Sokokoloff. He's a great guy, and he's helped me through so much. Um, but he doesn't know what he'd never heard of FND. You know, he
Mm,
had kind of dealt with people who had seizures before, but um, he just didn't know. And I just want it to be out there. That's why I'm so
mm,
grateful for you. And like this is a program that there's a huge need out there. There's a huge population of people that have seizures that are like mine,
mhm,
and not a lot of the healthcare people even know about it. Like
mhm.
I have a psychiatrist who I see for the medications I'm on, and he still calls them pseudo seizures. And I had to like stop him one day and be like,
Yeah.
dude, look, like you gotta stop calling him that. Like
Yeah.
I like as kindly as I could and as gently as I could. I was like, look, man, like you're triggering me first of all. And if you say that to somebody else who knows what they're talking about, they're gonna look at you and be like, well, you're like a decade or two short on the
Yeah.
research,
Yeah.
like I'm like, like get with the times, like
Right.
so I just want this to be out there more. I
Yeah.
just want FND to be a term that people know what it stands for.
Hmm.
That I really like the functional part of the term functional
Hmm.
seizure, because at first for me it was pseudo seizures, which I really
Right.
didn't like,
No.
and then they became it was psychogenic
Right.
non-epileptic seizures. And I was like, well, that's a little better. But I also kind of had the feeling that it was psychological in nature, and somehow with the right therapy, I could control it,
Hmm. Hmm.
And that was never the case. This and every therapist I went to, I would have to tell them that, and because that's what they and I would be like,
Wow.
oh, my neurologist told me that if I talk to you enough, I'll be able to control my
Yeah.
seizures. And they were just like, huh? and
Yeah.
and some of them would give it a shot,
Yeah.
and but they didn't know what they were talking about, so
Yeah.
it always just came back to my depression, or it came back
Mm.
to like them trying to address the like the consequences of me having
Mm.
FND,
Right.
which I feel like were extreme anxiety and
Yeah.
extreme depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we always ended up dealing with, or just like
Hmm.
things I was struggling with in life, and
Hmm.
they could give me some wise words and stuff, but none of it ever helped. Even
Yeah.
I had one lady who knew about psychogenic non-epileptic seizures and said she had a program that would help, and she's the one who introduced me to meditation. So I
Okay.
thought like, oh, this lady knew about seizures and taught me meditation, and that's when I stopped having seizures for a long time. So I was like, yeah, she must have been right. I just need to meditate. you know
Oh, I
but
wish it was that simple sometimes. I really
yeah,
do, Justin. And it sounds like, I mean, one, I'm with you. We need to shout it from the rooftop. Pseudo seizures, done, out. Psychogenic, out. They're not fake. They're not entirely psychological. They're complex. And like meditation alone, really great thing. I love meditation. I love
yeah,
mindfulness. But there is no like simple like fix. it's
Yes.
complex. And I think you've like
Yes.
really articulated for you those things that have really helped you on this journey.
Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
more. It's there's a lot of nuance. And
Right.
Naoya always used that term, and I really appreciated it because I was like, yeah, this is way more nuanced than
Yeah.
um and coming from coming into the program and realizing that I was going to meet with a physical therapist and an occupational therapist and a psychotherapist, I was just like, what's the physical therapist and the occupational therapist got to do with this, And but they were probably two of the most important. I mean, it's hard to it's really hard to say which of those feel because Lauren. I think I spent the most time with Lauren,
Mhm.
and naturally, um, but I feel like what I learned in the occupational therapy and in the physical therapy were just as important to my little bag of tricks, that I have now.
Yeah. And it's
And
putting all of that together, like it
yeah,
integrated, because that's how our brain is. That's how our bodies are. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I
Justin,
really
that's so
appreciate
great.
the nuance of it and the non black and white. Like
Yes. Yeah.
I really appreciated that, and I think that was a huge part of why I got better so quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep saying so quick. And I guess like you worked with our team for 3 months and you're local, so that wasn't like super intense, right? Like you worked with us a few times a week,
Yeah, like
right?
well, I
Yeah.
think in the beginning it was like 2 or 3 times a week, and then it
Okay.
kind of dropped off, maybe like
Yeah.
once a week for like the last
Yeah.
month and a half or so.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
But
think that's a good message too, that like it can happen quickly with finding some of the right things.
yeah, and
You
I
made a
had
lot of
read that in
progress.
some of the research I had read, like, or I just read stories of people getting better quickly,
Mhm.
and I was like, we'll see, I don't know, but that's what happened with me,
Yeah.
and it is expensive, but I mean, I hear you guys have a sliding scale, I mean, I am so grateful that I wasn't cheap and was like, I'll just keep fighting on my own, and I
Mhm.
put down some money, and because it was like, I mean, like you were saying, to be able to be present for your kids is priceless. Like you
Mhm.
can't put a price on that. Like that's like, so I mean, it's just I don't know. I just I just would hate for money to be a thing that would be a factor that somebody wouldn't try a program like this,
Mhm.
because it's man, I can't express how deeply mistrustful I was of anybody in the medical community that had anything to say about my situation
Yeah.
and how much how much that turned around through
Mhm.
meeting Lauren and Ioya and Lincoln and having them teach me and in a compassionate way,
Mhm.
a gentle way, they brought me right in, allowed me to just figure, have an open heart about it and get rid of that mistrust. And yeah, I don't know, but that yeah, it seems very quick. I mean, because I was having seizures like almost every day. Every once in a while, I'd go 3 days without having a seizure.
Mhm.
Um, and that was a good little break,
Yeah.
But I think that it's about 3 weeks, almost a month in between my seizures
Wow.
since like December. So even when I was in the program still, um, I had gotten improved significantly
Yeah.
with the seizures, especially um, the amount. that went down was like really drastic. And
Yeah.
I was just like, what? That's why I'm still kind of processing this whole experience because
Yeah.
I, yeah,
It's
it's a, yeah,
it's awesome. Well, Trina is on here and she said that's an awesome improvement. It really is. And from you sharing a lot of what you learned and your self-compassion and your confidence, to me, that's beyond us even seizures, Justin. Like that is
yeah,
a
yeah,
wonderful thing for any human at any age. Sometimes it takes us into our 40s to experience some of that for ourselves. And I'm always of the like better late than never camp
yeah,
for some of
yeah,
those things.
right.
Yeah, I think self-compassion is, I mean, this is like my own struggle on the daily. And I think that's like such a massive thing to shift in life.
Yeah,
So I think what a wonderful outcome. And to be without seizures and to go on trips and do what you love.
yeah,
Uh,
just get back to living life, life
living life.
for living,
Yeah, living. Justin, I want to thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time to share your story and your insight. I feel like it's really made me a better clinician just talking to you. So I feel very, very lucky for that. And I think everybody who sees this and we'll just shout it from the mountaintop. So more and more
yeah,
clinicians, more and more people can understand FND.
yeah. The
And
advocacy for this, I think, is a big thing, just really shouting it from the rooftops and getting uh, people, the medical community to understand this, That's why I'm
yeah.
so grateful for this I'm like, wow, that's so rad. Like, you have a Buddha approved job. Like,
Best compliment ever.
yeah, 100% Buddha approved.
Oh.
Like, you took your time and like from my understanding, like this type of functional neurology, or just functional medicine, is so um not Western, not part of our just um uh, I don't know what word, but it's not a term that the medical community uses, and
Mm.
um like I also have a lot of stomach problems, which is pretty common, I understand, with
Mm-hmm.
FND. And
Mm-hmm.
they just do all the tests and they're like, oh, everything's good, you're fine. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not fine.
Yeah.
you know? And they're
Yeah.
like, no, you are fine. And I'm like, my stomach is saying others,
Right. Right.
and it's like that kind of thing, like that like I need a functional
Mm.
gastroenterologist who's going to be able to work through me and my personal situation and
Mm-hmm.
help get those issues more under control. And this is like what you did to like compiling all the research or just all the people over the past 2 decades that have done the work of
Yeah.
it's like I know there's a large part of people who were just quote epileptic, that weren't even
Yeah.
epileptics that were
Yeah.
just thrown
Yeah.
into this camp,
Because we didn't know the science, like since you developed these symptoms, which is basically my entire career, Justin, like that, the science has like massively exploded about when we understand the brain and the body, the connection issues that go awry. And like we were treating it like in the 1800s that it was like hysteria, like
Yeah,
we have better technology now, thank goodness, to inform us. And
yeah,
I've seen that. Like I learned the pseudo, I learned the faking, I learned all of that in school, and thank goodness things have evolved. Thank goodness
yeah,
we keep learning.
yeah. I'm very grateful that this
Yeah.
is. I mean, I wish I had learned this sooner,
I know.
but
I
I
know.
I really do feel like, like there's that Buddhist story of like we don't know what's good and what's bad, like
Mm,
all the suffering that I went through in this
mm-hmm,
25 years, it made me who I am. It made me a
mm,
more compassionate person. The struggle was real, and I used it as a path, to grow as a person, and
mm,
I was kind of forced into it by just, my situation.
mm-hmm,
But the suffering wasn't for nothing, and
mm,
anybody who's, I also would like to encourage them, that there's a lot of value in that suffering, so
mm.
don't just completely just throw it out or try and there's a lot of value in suffering, and
Yeah.
people with FNTs tend to suffer a lot from
Mhm.
my understanding and all
Yeah,
the stories I've heard. I'm like,
yes, a
I,
thousand, 1,000%. And I don't
yeah,
wish that upon anybody. And I'm a firm believer in no mud, no lotus. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's something that we grow from. And I hear that from you immensely, how much you've grown and recognized and learned in the
yeah,
process. Um,
yeah. That
and
suffering was not for nothing.
yeah.
I'm grateful for it in a way.
Mm.
That I am a neurodivergent person whose brain does not work like the average person. It's made me a better musician.
There we go. There we go. That's the neurodivergent brain is my favorite type of brain, Justin. So, um,
Yeah, me too.
uh,
Love it, man. Stoked. I'm part of this crew, man. This is like,
it's a good crew. It's a
yeah,
good crew.
it's a great
Uh,
group of people, man. Like, I feel like all the coolest people are neurodivergent in some way.
they they are.
All the
Oh,
straight people out there, they're cool too, but
yeah, yeah. I can love them all, but from a
yeah,
brain perspective, give me neurodivergence any day.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
but Justin, I just want to thank you. I feel like I've taken so much of your time, but I could
Mm,
sit here and hang out and talk to you for hours. Thank you so much. We're going to
yeah.
share this video far and wide, share your message to many many people, and
Cool.
like this is part of that outcome for you, is that you're spreading the love, you're spreading the hope. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Now I hope people do find that little bit of hope, because it can go a long way when you're
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
keep you going another day and get you that
Yeah.
help that can happen. Like things will change.
Hmm.
That's like one of the only things you're guaranteed.
Hmm.
You know,
Things will
s-
change.
Things are
Yeah.
going to change.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
and they can change for the better. And that's just the reality of the you know of our human condition. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
so I feel like with the right help, this can be, I for the first time in my life, I feel like confident about the future. I
Oh.
didn't have that before.
Mm.
I just figured I was always gonna just struggle through life. I was
Mm.
gonna struggle into my 60s and then
Mm.
find a way to exit. Like
Mm.
that was my plan. It really was my plan. Was like make it till my kids are older and then go get lost in the desert.
Mm.
Like, and I still want to get lost in the desert, but I don't want to die anymore.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Go get lost in the desert with your friends,
Yeah.
and I think you have a greater mission now to spread the word and to like really, really live. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad our paths have crossed Justin, and you got to
Yeah.
meet our team that I got to meet you tonight.
Yeah, you have a great team.
They're
I mean, I've
amazing.
only met Lincoln and Naoya and Lauren, but there's a lot of
They're
people
amazing.
there. I only went there once and I was like, wow, there's a lot going on here, you know?
Yeah, yeah, we do have there's 35 of us. It's an amazing team,
Oh
and
wow.
you got to work with some of the best there.
Oh yeah,
And
well, I would imagine. Yeah.
they're great. All
Please
right,
give Lincoln, Naoya, and Lauren my love and
I
tell them
will.
thank you from the
I
bottom of
will.
my heart and that they also have Buddha approved jobs.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna tell them that right now. They will be so stoked. All
Yeah.
right, well, Justin, we'll stay in touch. I can't wait to hear what
Yeah.
you keep doing. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't thank you enough.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.